Welcome to the MousekaBros podcast. Hi, I'm Ryan.
And I'm his brother Randy. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram at the MousekaBros. We'll be releasing new episodes every Friday, so make sure you subscribe to get the latest podcast. If you have any suggestions for upcoming shows or just want to say hi, you can email us at mousekabrospodcast@gmail.com.
If you're planning your next Disney destination or Universal Orlando vacation, you're going to want to reach out to me, Ryan Noppinger, with Capture the Magic Vacations. You can reach me at ryan.noppinger@ctmvagent.com. This is a no-cost-to-you service to use me as your travel agent. I'll make sure you get the best vacation package or deal for your whole family. I can also help make dining reservations and plan fast passes to make planning your Disney vacation less stressful and more magical.
Can you feel the nostalgia tonight? Because on today's episode, we are talking about the newest live-action movie, The Lion King. But as always, Sir Ryan the Bard Noppinger is joining me in the studio.
Sir, who?
I don't know. I'm going to come up with different titles for every intro now.
Why?
That's the thing.
Okay.
It's happening.
That's okay. It's happening now, everyone.
It is a thing.
I apologize ahead of time. But Sir Randall, I can't even think of anything.
It'll be my thing. It'll be my thing.
I'm
it
just going to
have to be
continue.
yours.
I can't think of anything. I am good, though. How are you?
Great. I'm pretty excited to do this.
How many more of these Mouseka movie reviews can we do? It's not our fault. It's really Disney's.
They just keep releasing movies.
They just keep releasing. We can't. Well, we can't help that, but we'll keep doing them because they are certainly fun.
Yeah, they're fun seeing too because we actually saw this at a drive-in movie theater.
Yes, so there aren't many of those around.
No.
If those who know what they are, except maybe you do when you go to Disney because you do Sci-Fi Diner, right? It's basically exactly that, but you're in your own car, of course, and
yeah.
It was a good time.
It's an experience. It's fun.
Shout out to Benji's Drive-In Theater.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely local.
Before we begin, we're going to put out a spoiler because we will be talking basically about the whole movie, different parts. So if you haven't seen it, we're just going to talk about spoilers.
Well, we say spoilers, but if you haven't seen the animated classic Lion King, just go watch it.
Right, but there are differences that we're going to be talking about and giving our opinion.
And that's the spoiler that we're going to talk about for sure. Yeah, not that Mufasa dies. Sorry.
Just stop the show.
Sorry.
All right. Before we get in, we're going to talk about some of the numbers. Its opening weekend did about 192 million. This is actually the highest live-action opening weekend that Disney has ever had. So that's definitely impressive. Is it the movie? Is it because Disney is releasing more episodes? Stay tuned for that conversation. And then gross, they did about 350 million. That number is probably going to change by the time this episode releases, which is the third highest live action movie. The second would be The Jungle Book, and the first would be Beauty and the Beast.
It's interesting for opening weekend, 192 million, the highest live action opening weekend of them all. That most certainly shows the hype that just the name The Lion King brings to this movie.
Yeah.
Without even, I guess any of the other ones, like Beauty and the Beast, any of the ones that are the classic the animated classic films, carry that name with them throughout the years, where versus like Jungle Book, even though it's the second highest grossing film right now, it's still up there, which is kind of different, I guess, for the live action.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go into our first topic, and was this worth the hype?
I would say, yes. I think overall, yes, because it's still The Lion King, right? Even though some minor things have changed in the movie, which we'll get to talk about, overall, it is still The Lion King. So again, probably for me, just like Aladdin or Beauty and the Beast, it could have been a complete flop, but I'm still going to go see it.
Yeah, I agree because, like you said, it still is The Lion King. While they did make changes that I necessarily don't agree with, but again, we'll get into that later, it is still The Lion King. I think you said it perfectly.
No, yeah.
So we'll just go on to our overall thoughts of the movie, Ryan. Like, did you like it or did you not?
I said, of course, I would absolutely go see it, but did I like it? Is there a middle answer?
I think the middle answer, and this is kind of my answer too, is that I liked the movie, but I don't need to see it again.
No. And I guess when you compare it like that, Aladdin, I would see that again.
Yes, absolutely. That's a movie that if someone's like, hey, you want to go see Aladdin with me tonight? Do you want to come? Like, yeah, absolutely. But then if that same question was with The Lion King, it's like, I really don't need to go see it again. I'm glad that I saw it, but I don't want to spend money to see it again.
If anything, this probably makes me want to watch the animated film again even more, if that makes sense,
right,
to kind of recuperate some of the things that the live action did or did not do.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. Let's move on and talk about just your general thoughts of the music and like the singing of the movie.
I mean, it's the classic songs that you love and you want them to be well represented. Were they? In my opinion, not really. No, I don't like the kind of talking singing. There's talking singing, and then there's literally just talking the words with music behind you.
Right.
Like I'm trying to put that into some type of like play thing, kind of like Hamilton, right? That is talk kind of rap with music, but this was very much
just talking with
some ambient music,
right?
Which I didn't like, especially for what's the first song that they talked in? Even you were like, oh yeah, no, why are they talking? That's weird.
So in Hakuna Matata,
Timon, that one for sure.
So what Ryan's saying is in the animated version, Nathan Lane, who played Timon, like he kind of has the singing about him, where like when he was a young warthog, but like in the new one, it was just like when he was a young warthog. Like it's distinctly different.
Yes, and that's what I didn't like about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you?
I didn't mind it. Listening to it, I didn't really like it. I was like, oh, this isn't going to be good. But then actually, when I was seeing and hearing it at the same time, not that I was seeing the music, I was seeing the screen with the music playing.
No, I get that.
It added something, and I actually kind of liked the music. I don't know if I would re-listen to the soundtrack, but I didn't mind that talking versus the talking singing type deal that you're talking about.
Just listening to the soundtrack before you go and see the movie gives a bad rep to the movie. I will agree with that. But giving it context,
yes, it makes it like a little bit better. A lot of people went up in arms and are giving really bad reviews to the song "Spirit" sung by Beyonce. And that song, if you don't remember, is when he is kind of running back to Pride Rock, going to save it, and he's in like the desert and stuff, and you just hear Beyonce just doing what Beyonce does. But a lot of people actually got really angry about that because I guess it wasn't, quotes, true to the story or anything. Do you feel the same way?
Honestly, I think I was fixing the radio in the truck when that happened. So I honestly don't remember that song quite as well. But it's funny because because you and I were talking in between it, and I was like, oh, is this the last song? When it's Can You Feel the Love Tonight?
Right.
And I was like, oh, isn't this the last song of like the whole movie? And you were like, yeah, I'm pretty sure it is.
Right.
So like, I guess that's kind of cool that they added a song. Maybe not necessarily did it have to be so overzealous, like over the top with it. But again, it's Beyonce, so I guess
right.
Yes, she can sing it. There's no doubt about that. But did it fit necessarily a Disney film?
Right. See, what I thought was nice about it is that it was kind of used as transition music. That it was, a bunch of different scenes of Simba running back with, all of his friends following him. Unlike and I don't know the name of the song, but unlike the new song in Aladdin, where Jasmine gets her own, minute and a half or however long the song is, and it's like just her singing. If it would have been Nala, just her singing as she's like looking at Simba from afar or something, I think it would have taken me out of the movie, but the beat behind it and like her voice and singing kind of added something for the transition music. So I didn't mind it as much, and like I didn't key into it as much, if that makes sense.
Yeah, again, and we talked about that for Aladdin during Jasmine's song. It didn't move the plot forward at all. This song did. And that's why we probably were a little bit more kind of okay with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm going to have to listen to it again, though.
Yeah.
Because...
Well, it's actually... So it's not available on like Apple Music, which we use a lot for our music.
Yeah. Wow.
So
I didn't know that.
You probably have to like YouTube it or something.
YouTube it
maybe.
or something.
So now that we've kind of mentioned all of the voices and actors and one actor, what's your overall thoughts of the voice cast of all of the voice actors?
I think good. Again, and I think it has to do with the singing for Pumbaa and Seth Rogen. I think, like, if Pumbaa, I guess, didn't sing and it was maybe only Seth Rogen, okay. But because he sang, it kind of threw me off from the beginning. And I'm trying to think of who played Timon.
I don't know. I don't know what his name is.
I know his face, and I can't remember what else he's been in, but I feel like I don't know what else both of them have been in together, right? Like Timon and Pumbaa in the animated film kind of had, you could tell they had like a chemistry, if that makes any sense, but this didn't seem that way.
So it was Billy Eicher.
Okay.
He played the actor. For Timon, I just wanted to give you that information. Yeah, I would agree that I kind of like the voice actors. I really didn't mind them. I really like Simba, Donald Glover. I think he is an amazing artist. He was an actor in Community, then became Childish Gambino, and now he's kind of going back to acting, and he said that he would do some directing. I really like Donald Glover. I kind of would like him in anything that he is, so I think I'm a little biased when it comes to that.
Right, yeah, no, but he was good,
Yeah, absolutely.
Singing was great. And
right, he played the part. Beyonce was good. She did a good job. But whenever she sung, it was like she was trying to perform and not do it to the like nostalgia part.
No, it was the Pepsi halftime show every single time.
Absolutely. Yeah. So like that became a bit much for me. And Seth Rogen, he's funny. I don't know if I liked him in this because he's not a singer. In the animated, they had Matthew Broderick and Nathan Lane. These people have been on Broadway because they are singers.
Right.
It seems like for this version, they got more actors rather than singers, if that makes sense.
No. I totally get that. And for I guess for me, for Timon and Pumbaa, I'm looking for comedy relief. And I necessarily don't think Seth Rogen is like 100% all in that funny, especially from other movies that he has been in and I'm pretty sure directed. They're not The Lion King. They're not child movies. They're very much adult humor.
Absolutely.
And,
absolutely.
Yeah. So, and I guess that's why I don't like Seth Rogen for this role.
Right, because you don't see him as that.
As Pumbaa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I do see him as a comedic relief, though, because all of the movies that he's in are funny. So, like, I do get that aspect. But at the same time,
it's a different funny.
Yes,
it's
absolutely.
not this funny.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Kind of going off that, like, Scar was not scary to me. Like, he was scary, but he wasn't as scary as the animated version would be. And maybe it was just because, his song Be Prepared kind of lacked luster, because it was that talking rather than the singing with music. He was just kind of talking the words. So Be Prepared wasn't as powerful as it was in the animated version.
Yeah, again, and it goes back to that talking, and I think that was the other song I was thinking of for the talking that I don't like.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's move on to the next topic. Were the animals too realistic for you? So, like, I guess what that question kind of means with that topic is that, Disney went kind of that National Geographic feel rather than the kind of animated characters that, we know. So it kind of got a little confusing about which character was which sometimes because they looked so real and so lifelike that they lost the animated feel to them. I guess an example of that is like Aladdin, right? In the live action, he still has all of like Aladdin's clothes, so he looked like Aladdin. But in Lion King, they all looked like lions rather than looking like Mufasa and Simba. Does that make sense?
No, but I think it's that mixture of if you're doing a quote live action movie, you don't want it to look too much like the animated because it's not animated, it's live action. So it's kind of that, I don't know, I go back and forth through it. Hearing stuff before I went and saw the movie, I was like, oh, maybe I won't get over them looking so realistic. But 10 minutes, into the movie, I was completely fine with everybody. I guess because I knew then who everybody was. Like, oh yeah, that's Scar, okay, and you get kind of like a full picture of his character.
Right. For somebody who's never seen Lion King, though, would you think it would be challenging to visualize each character and understand who everybody is?
Well, I mean, if you haven't seen it, this is going to be your first representation of the Lion King, so I don't know. Had I seen the live action first and then the animated, film after that, like, I don't know, that would be interesting. I mean, you can definitely tell, like, that the animated is, I mean, of course it's cartoon, but it's like cartoonish
right
of the animals.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. So what you're saying is that you didn't mind that it was too realistic, the animals?
No, because they're animals, right? I mean, like, and for me, for the whole entire movie is kind of the getting over, even for, Jungle Book, for that matter, there's only one live actor in that whole entire movie for Jungle Book, right? So, and the rest are all CGI animals, which again is a thing I have to get over for Lion King because it's, quote, a live action, but the whole entire movie is CGI.
That is actually false. Fun fact. There's one shot that is actually a live shot.
What is it?
It's in the beginning for Circle of Life when the sun's rising. That's an actual live shot.
I mean...
Sorry, that's just a fun fact
I know,
I knew.
But like, I can see that,
yes.
right? But anytime there is an animal on the screen, it's CGI.
So I guess my argument is that, in the Jungle Book, each character was a different animal. So it was easy to tell which animals were which. But in Lion King, when they're all lions, I wish that there was just something. It doesn't have to be exactly like the animated version, but like just something to help identify each characters. Like I know for like Simba and Nala, like Simba is a little bit darker because he's a male. Nala is a little bit lighter with her fur. I get that. But, when it's Mufasa and Scar, I don't know. Like you can still tell them apart, but they're just not as apart as they are in the animated.
And I think it all has to do with kind of their facial expressions. For the live action, right, they are true to form. It's a lion through and through, eyes and all that, but for the animated film they went with more of a humanized face for the characters, right?
So you can tell the expressions because of all the different expressions they would make with their face.
Exactly.
That like a true lion cannot
necessarily
do.
Wouldn't do.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. But I don't know. Again, I go back and forth for it. I feel like, again, I have to watch I have to watch I keep on getting them both confused. The animated
totally
film, I know they are. I have to watch the animated film again, and then most likely I'll probably end up watching The Lion King again when maybe it comes out on, Redbox or HBO or, any of those.
Yeah.
But
All right. So while we're on kind of talking about lines and their designs, what are your thoughts on the new Scar design? A lot of people said that Scar looked more sick than evil. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, he is not necessarily the strongest, right? So I could see how they wanted to build him that Mufasa is bigger, kind of like the bigger brother of them both, the stronger. But, they had to have him play more into his wit side, his knowledge side of things, which I guess they were more trying to go for. But because they kept necessarily, I guess, that too much to the story and, didn't advance at least his plot, his story anymore, which what I would have very much loved to see. Like, why is Mufasa and Scar kind of so apart from each other?
So,
like, what happened?
Okay, well, I actually don't know what happened to them, but they're brothers. That's what the family is, because Scar is the uncle of Simba. That makes them brothers. So their actual names, like his actual name is Scar. I was reading all of this lore, and that his parents actually named him the name Scar, which translates into ugly, basically. So as a kid, one kid gets called beautiful and the other kid, gets called ugly. That's going to make them butt heads because one's going to be better than the other. That's fun facts.
Yeah. But I would have definitely loved more of a backstory like they have been doing kind of with these live action. Maybe a little bit more backstory on Scar, on why him and Mufasa kind of grew apart a little bit. And it didn't have to be much.
All right. That's going to be a topic for later, so let's not go too much into it. But yeah, I agree. So I think we'll have a lot to talk about when we get to that. While we're staying on characters, let's talk about some of the changes that were made to the characters. What are your thoughts on Rafiki? He was in the movie less, and he didn't have his staff until the very end, when he starts fighting. And he brings it out and says, my old friend. But they really don't explain anything about that. What are your thoughts on that?
Again, I really like Rafiki in the animated film, kind of that all-knowing, wise monkey for him. I didn't necessarily get that feel from this one. At least I felt him more of a serious role. Not that kind of serious, wise, kooky old man kind of feel that you get from the animated film, which I kind of missed. At least from the staff, I wish there would have been more. All that needed to happen was the staff at the beginning when he's holding up Simba, right? At least have the staff in that scene. And then kind of when Mufasa dies and that no one knows where Simba is, a scene where Rafiki is putting away his staff. He's hiding it.
Yeah, it's
because it's kind of I'm going into darkness. Simba's back, and that scene that they already have of him pointing it out, saying, because now it's 10 years later, maybe or so,
something like that.
And then my old friend, that is all they would have needed, and it would have been more powerful than it already is, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. I really miss that. He isn't this narrator figure almost. On Broadway, that's who Rafiki is. He is kind of the narrator because the actor playing Rafiki on Broadway sings The Circle of Life. And so that's what I like. And the animated version, you kind of get that too, that Rafiki is really controlling everything in a sense, because he is kind of everywhere in the movie, especially when he goes and gets Simba from the jungle. They have this kind of back and forth in the animated where he slaps him in the head, and then he does it again. He sees oh, see, you learned from the past. He's well, why did you do that? Well, it doesn't matter because it's in the past. And then Simba's duh, that all makes complete sense.
Right, this realization, which I missed dearly in the live action.
Yeah, and they didn't have that, so I kind of missed that. And then, like you said, not have, the whole backstory with the staff would have been really nice to have, because it was just he says my old friend, but why is it his old friend? Why is it away? Why is it where it is?
Right. to me, with these live action movies, they already know, at least they should already know, that just because of the name of the classic movie that they're remaking is going to get people to come see it, right? So now, while we have everyone here, let's build on the story that everyone also already loves.
Right.
Is what I love about the live action movies. When it goes to, and what they did with Lion King, more along the lines of story for story, and maybe a little change here, a little change there, that necessarily doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. Because really, you're going to have, the majority of the people are going to be people coming back to see, Lion King remade. But how many people will it be that haven't seen The Lion King, that have no reference of it? So when Rafiki says, my old friend, they have no idea what that means. I feel like you kind of lose that aspect if you've never seen it before.
Yeah. I just looked up the animated film was 1 hour and 28 minutes, and the live action was 1 hour and 58 minutes. What they did with that, 30 extra minutes?
I cannot tell.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Singing?
I mean, yeah, they may have made the songs longer, but it's hard to tell where it's longer at.
Yeah. And that's what I miss from the live action.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next character that we want to talk about, Zazu. He also, I felt like he wasn't in the movie as much, or didn't have as much as a prominent role. And they also took out the scene where he gets captured by Scar and is placed in quotes, jail. And Scar's like, Zazu, sing me a song. And Zazu's like, it's a small world after all. And it's funny because Scar then gets angry at him. And it's don't ever sing that annoying song again. And they took that scene out. So for me, that kind of made me upset because it was that's a really funny joke. They could have even changed the song to a non-Disney song. That's a popular song that a lot of people don't like.
Right.
And it could have been funny.
Right.
It could have been modern. Or it kept it small world. But they took that scene out altogether. Maybe because they want it to be a more serious movie, a more lifelike movie. It kind of lost me there.
Again, with the animated film is kind of that comedy relief a little bit with it, versus this is not necessarily comedy relief.
Of course, I completely agree. Kind of moving on to Timon and Pumbaa, they have a scene where they're oh, we need live bait, we need something to distract him. And Timon kind of dresses up in a luau outfit, and Pumbaa sits on a plate with an apple, and it's very unrealistic, and they took that away. But instead, they had Timon and Pumbaa sing
Be Our Guest.
Yeah, Be Our Guest and that was it. So it kind of takes that comedy relief away.
Yeah.
And also another big change, which I thought was interesting, was that, when they go into the jungle, it wasn't just Timon and Pumbaa. It was a whole crew of people with a lot of people. And I don't remember that in the animated film.
No, it was just Timon and Pumbaa.
Right. So for me, that I didn't like that change because, when it's Can You Feel the Love Tonight comes, Timon says, well, our trio is down to 2. But they're not really a trio because it's a whole group of them. So that line doesn't make sense anymore now that it's a whole posse of animals.
Right. Now from Lion King 1.5, they kind of, met Timon and Pumbaa kind of in the middle by accident, kind of how they ran into Simba. And then, they were looking for someplace better. And then they ended up finding it.
Right.
At where they were when the movie picked up for, whatever. But I liked that it was only Timon and Pumbaa by themselves.
Right, because it just made sense to the whole story. But because now it's Simba runs off and only Timon and Pumbaa go. Well, why didn't Timon and Pumbaa be hey guys, this is all of our Earth. We need to fight with Simba because he is the king of everything. Why was it just Timon and Pumbaa just running off? I didn't like that change of having the whole crew.
Yeah. No. Weird.
Yeah, it was very weird. So moving on to one of our last topics is, was the movie lacking anything to you? And I think we've kind of already touched on that it is missing the backstory of what Disney live actions do. So like Beauty and the Beast has Belle and the Beast look into the mirror and they like go back in time and you find out more about Belle's mother's death and why it's just Belle and her father. So you get more of that backstory. In Aladdin, you get more of the backstory of like why the genie is the genie, why are they telling the story and all of that. You get, more backstory to it. But for Lion King, they don't add any backstory. So you don't know why Mufasa and Scar aren't friends, why Rafiki is who Rafiki is, why Rafiki's staff is away. You don't really get that backstory. And for me, that is what's lacking in this movie.
No, I couldn't say it any better. And all of those things I absolutely agree with. Definitely missing something on all those notes. Plus, at least for me, more of that kind of comedy relief.
You wanted more comedy relief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's what I feel while watching the animated film for The Lion King. Aladdin, I'm trying to remember from the animated film, and it may have had a little bit in it, but like the live action picked it up again with at least a little bit of the comedy with the genie and, and all of that. So again, like if you're going to keep The Lion King the same, and I guess that's the balance of it all, of how much do we keep the same, how much do we elaborate on, how much do we get rid of type of thing. And to me, this didn't hit all of the things that I would have liked it to hit for a live action movie.
Yeah, I agree. We have another question that's kind of like the same thing, but I'm going to change it. Could more have been added to this movie, or could anything really have been taken away? Was there anything in this movie that you're like, oh, it's completely missing this, or like that was totally unnecessary, they didn't need to do that? I felt fine. I felt fine with how it was. For me, they could have added more to Mufasa's death scene. I don't know why, it just didn't hit me like the animated Lion King version did. I don't know what about it that like is different. I don't know why I felt different, but I felt like the emotion wasn't there, that we didn't have enough time to grow with Mufasa and Simba together, that I wish they would have added more like father-son time, so then when Mufasa dies, it's like, whoa, this is really, really serious.
This is an important character to Simba. Like, I mean, not that it wasn't because it's his father, right? But no, again, the live action needs to hit on all of those notes that doesn't pick up in the animated film, plus more backstory, and that's what you can feed into in the live action.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't even mind a new song. If it, I know they did a new song with, Beyonce and him running, like we talked about earlier in this episode, but a new song that, was kind of like Jasmine's song. Like, I didn't hate Jasmine's songs. I didn't love it, but I'm just saying, like, I wish it wasn't scene for scene, word for word. I wish there was just something else that was like, ooh, wow, that's really new. I didn't expect that.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of any of the live action that has had a Broadway play use any of those newer songs. Like The Lion King with Zazu, The Morning Report. Like, I like that song. Like, that would have been an interesting, addition, a song that has already been made that, maybe adds 3 more minutes to, Zazu's kind of part in the whole movie.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like Aladdin, I think kind of not completely uses a song, but touches on the idea of Aladdin kind of singing, kind of to his mom, to his parents, singing to himself that, I'm not all these things that these people say you are. Like, you're going to be proud. I'm great. I don't know. But, I think Aladdin does that. But, yeah, I really wish that Lion King would have done that. And not that there needed to be dancing in Lion King.
No, but you get that with when there's actual humans in a live action remake. You're not necessarily going to get that from animals in
a live action, because they didn't dance in the animated. But like Can't Wait to Be King had it was just a little bit comedic relief. It was a bit unrealistic, unlike the live action. But like I still kind of missed that part that there wasn't like movement or something like that in some of the songs.
And that whole scene kind of was different because they were just trying to lose Zazu, running through all these different types of herds of animals and stuff like that. Which, I get, but going off of the animated film, it was very more colorful.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, final question here, final topic. Was this a step forward or a step backwards for live action remakes, in your opinion?
The money, of course, speaks otherwise because opening weekend, 192 million. Right now, it's the third highest live action. I don't know. I mean, maybe for the numbers because it's The Lion King, right? The Lion King is going to draw in money. It's now the reviews afterwards of saying, well, am I going to go see it again? Or I sure hope they don't put this Lion King into the parks. Like, we talked about it with Aladdin. Like, are they going to update Aladdin? Because, maybe wouldn't mind a refresh. But as far as for the Lion King, I mean, you look at a T-shirt that may have Simba on it, and it's a live action Simba, and you're like, who is that? That's just a lion on a T-shirt. Versus the animated film, that's Simba on a T-shirt. That's Timon and Pumbaa on a T-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess the overall answer for me is maybe like half a step backwards.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. It's a step forward in the terms of Dumbo for me because like I haven't seen Dumbo, but just looking out of the previews and the reviews, it didn't do well. Looking at its box office numbers, it didn't do well. So it's a step forward for that. But, after seeing Aladdin and seeing what they did with Aladdin, it was definitely a step backwards for me because there was just a lot of things that I didn't expect in Aladdin that happened that then made me expect surprises in Lion King that didn't happen. So I was, in the sense, disappointed in Lion King that there was just nothing new for me. It was just like, oh wow, they really just took the animated and made it with real animals.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else.
Yeah, no, I have nothing else either. I can't think of any other movies that are upcoming for another Mouseka movie review, but if there are any, I'm trying to think of any other kind of off-brand Disney. I mean, there's no Marvel coming up.
No.
Or
I mean, there's a ton coming up in like 2020 and beyond.
Yeah.
I mean, if there is old movies that anybody would like us to do a review on
and talk about.
Yeah, just let us know.
Yeah.
Comment on Facebook or email us.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, if you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review as it helps us improve the show. And as always, be sure to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Facebook. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.